Hi everybody, it's Russ from My Hammers 11. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're notified of any time we put new content on. Obviously, we have videos going up daily at the moment, but sometimes we go 2-3 times a day with so many great stories, great memories, and I wouldn't want you to miss any of them. Everyone is priceless, everyone is brilliant, so make sure you hit that bell icon so you're notified of any new content we put on. Got loads of great guests, loads of great fans, including today's fan. You might have heard him. He's on he does the was it spot the road player or the road player quiz?
Yeah, the road player quiz. Yeah, on the We Are West Ham podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, it's Reece Bayliss. Hi, Reece. How are you, man?
Yeah, very well, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I know it's horrible. How's lockdown treating you?
Yeah, so it hasn't. Not a lot has changed. I'm still working.
Yeah.
The other half's working as well still. So get to spend a bit of time with my boy at home, which has been good. He's only 18 months old. So,
oh, wow.
But yeah, it's, hopefully every day is getting a bit closer to becoming a bit more normal, shall we say.
Whatever normal's going to be, isn't it?
Yeah, whatever the normal's going to be.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, apart from that, mate, it's, your videos are keeping me going.
Oh, thank you. There's plenty of them.
Yeah, that's why it's good.
If we're going to be like that, it's got a bit mental. Yeah. But at least it's keeping you happy, which is good, and that's the whole point of it. It's as you said, it's good fun. It's great, and it gives me a good excuse to chat to West Ham fans all the time. Sounds good to me.
Absolutely.
I could be next door watching EastEnders or whatever. No, I'm here. and yeah, so obviously, for you, Reece, West Ham fan, where did it all begin for you? Why West Ham? Why was it your team?
Do you know what? This is one of these questions that I never really got to the bottom of why I'm a West Ham fan. So all my family are Arsenal fans. I vaguely remember that my mum said to me, apparently, it was at the time my brother was being enrolled in being a junior gunner. And she said to me, do you want to do it as well? And I said, no, I want to support West Ham. So that was I think I was about 5. My first kit was around 87, 88, 88, 89, the Avco number.
Yeah.
Score line on the sleeve. So yeah, I think the weird thing is how I've ended up with people that I've become friends with over the years. It's one of them things that I wonder if I weren't a West Ham fan, how it would have sort of
totally
ended up. I mean, there have been times, and I won't I'll admit it, that when Arsenal were going through a bit of a stage with all their trophies, I sort of questioned it a couple of times, and you think to yourself, bloody hell, like. But yeah, I mean, I found out that my mum's dad, my granddad, used to go and watch West Ham, even though he was an Arsenal fan. I've had a few friends over the years do that. I think, because it was easy to get tickets, and there was always sort of a group of people that would go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was never really. It's one of them strange questions. I'd love to be able to go, yeah, this was that, and that.
Yeah.
My dad's not, he's football, but he's not. He's got a bit of a Welsh background, so he supports a Welsh side. So yeah, it was never
just through osmosis.
It weren't for being a boring hunter or anything like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I mean, that happens, isn't it? It's like, you're right. It's like, when you look back and think of things, it's like, some people it's proximity, some people it's family, as you said, and for some people they just pick it up and pick the team, and it's. I think of all the foreign-based hammers, like German Holt and Scandinavian hammers, or some of the American hammers, and where they just literally just picked West Ham, and that was their team, and they're fanatical about it, and it is what it is, and that's a great thing. Everyone has a different story why they come to it. Some people are really close ties.
A lot of my friends, their dads were supporters or are supporters, so it was sort of natural for them. Another friend of mine who come from literally outside West Ham, his dad actually supported Manchester United because he liked George Best, but he's a West Ham fan. He's someone that I've grown up a lot of my life with. And as I say, it's just one of them things I don't know. I think in the end, it's your local I wouldn't say this is the local side where we are, but a lot of Essex-based
For you, it is. Yeah, I mean,
people,
obviously, yeah.
it's natural to be a West Ham fan, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. It does seem that way, doesn't it? It doesn't. It does seem, like some places, like where famously, obviously, United fans are all over the place. It does seem West Ham and Tottenham and Arsenal to some extent. It is quite territorial. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
if you're sort of Edmonton, you're going to be a Tottenham fan. If you're sort of obviously Islington, you're more likely to be an Arsenal fan. Obviously, if you're in probably Essex and obviously East London, it's West Ham, and it seems to just sort itself out, by natural selection, so to speak. But but it's what it is.
As I say, it's just mad. The friends that I've got made over the years with it is, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. But I do look back on it and think, should I put my boy through it? He's one of them. He's,
Well, you sort of have to now. You know what I mean? It's like the boy. You've got to pass that torture on to him. It's like I've done that to my daughter, although she's not really bothered by it at the moment. But she started the West Ham late. She's been to a couple of West Ham ladies games. That's not bad. Rush Green's about 5 minutes away from us. It's you've got a lineage now. You have to keep now. Reece,
I think as well with a lot of my friends that have got kids as well, it'd be nice to do the next sort of stage. My nephew, we went up to the friendly at the start of this season, isn't it? I suppose still.
Yeah, still this season. Yeah.
And there was a few of us that went. My father-in-law, my brother-in-law, another one of my mates took two of my mates took their boys. So,
lovely.
It was nice to see they weren't interested in the game one bit. And like in typical West Ham fashion, we lost on penalties in the end. So it was like, that's a good way to introduce you to it.
It is. I've seen some people whose first matches were like, a 6-0 win against Sunderland or But you're right. You've got them in the. They're already grounded if they've had a typical West Ham result, haven't they? But so obviously, as you've been a fan for a long time, really. There must be some memories that stick out that are really fond memories of West Ham. It doesn't have to be a match, it could be meeting players as you've done with your book, your Who's Who book.
I mean, my first game was in 1991 season.
Yeah.
It was actually the last game of the season against Notts County when we should have won the title. Now I've got again, it was a friend of my dad's, a fella called John, that took me and my brother, and it was one of them things that the whole game sort of just bypassed me.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember was Georgie Parry scored for us to make it 1-2. And my dad's mate just picked me up and just chucked me in here and shook me, sort of thing. And then I just remember everyone else running on the pitch. I was in the chicken run upper. And just looking at everyone on the pitch, and it was sort of like it filtered through then. We hadn't won the league.
Yeah.
I mean, I was only 8 years old then, but from that side of things, it wasn't really until the 92-93 season that I started going regular.
Yeah.
And I hold that season in like high regard, especially the team we had.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I still, now and again, I'll always dig out the season review of that season, Premier Bound, I think it was called, on the VHS. And that's when I started really getting into it.
Yeah.
Just going into senior school as well. And then after that, it was trying to do as many games as I could before getting my first season ticket in 1998. So there's been, I don't know, it's difficult to say, really. I'd go along the lines of probably the 92-93 season.
Yeah.
The 98-99 season, when I did have my first season ticket, it was a brilliant season.
Yeah, you did well there, yeah.
And it's very much, you say about meeting players and things like that. I think just being able to have that opportunity to meet players when we used to be young to go and things like that, used to be able to stand outside the West Stand when the players turned up, or it was fenced off and things like that. So yeah, I don't think I'd be able to nail it down to one. I think we've been through every sort of emotion as a fan.
Very much so.
I granted, I suppose we're never going to win the league. I was only a couple of years old when 85, 86 happened. I just everything about it, going up there, the people that I've met, even from just going to West Ham that I hardly see, but I would still call a friend.
Yeah, I get that.
You know, them sort of things, and it just from going from the bits of driving up to then being able to get the train up on my own, and it's all them bits that sort of
milestones, isn't it? It's all milestones in your life.
I've sort of stuck with me as I've grown up. I don't, every in all honesty, every game that I've been to is, I'm lucky that I've been able to go to the amount of games that I did.
Yeah, I understand that. And you're right as well. You're right what you say about it's more about the experience. And it is the friends you've made, as you said, that that famous West Ham family, West Ham community. I know we all sort of gabble on about it, but it's true. And and this whole thing we're doing now, this is we wouldn't have spoken together, ever before, and it's the same with me. Lots of people I've met in the last 4 weeks, doing this have become good friends, and it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. It's like just
I think the I know a lot of people go on about it, but obviously leaving Upton Park was a big. I think looking back on it now, was such a big part of the people that you used to see. Martin C that you had on last week. I moved to the West Stand in 2003 for my season ticket, and he used to sit behind me with another couple of geezers, Webby and I think his name was Johnny, I think. And, it was always, I wouldn't talk to him outside of it because Facebook and things like that weren't kicking off as much as they are now. But whenever I see him, it's, all of them, it's brilliant because, we had so many good laughs over the years. We did go for a stage when I got to about sort of 2021 where you'd watch the first half, you'd go downstairs at half time for a couple of beers. Sometimes didn't go back up to my seat, depending on what the game was when we were in the Championship. He'd vouch for that as well. But, they're the things that I sort of, that I love about it.
Yeah.
I loved going to Upton Park. I mean, going to the new stadium, I didn't have a problem with it at the time. I still haven't really. It's just gives the opportunity for new people to go that haven't gone. So it's just something's been taken away from that.
No, I understand that.
Close sort of things, and I'm obviously not sitting near them people anymore. Well, so
no, I know what you mean, but it's for your boy, isn't it? It's for the next generation. It's horrible to think of that, but it's their generation, isn't it? It's like my daughter. She never know West Ham played at Upton Park. It's all about London Stadium, and that's what she knows. And it is weird, and it was strange. And you got to think, if we were there for 100 years, something like that, at the old gaff, and so it's going to take time to sort of
I think there was people that went long before we went, so it's I only really started going once it had got to all-seater.
Yeah, so, really, 92, 93,
you know what I mean? The people that would talk about the old chicken run, standing on the north and the south bank, I never really got to do anything like that.
No.
Times I'd go, we'd be in a chicken run. So, but yeah, it's I'd say far too many memories to ever pick one.
No, of course, and that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where random things keep popping in my head now. So like, because talking to people and they'll be talking about something, and it just gets me on a tangent. I God, I haven't thought about that for about 20 years. It's like that match or that goal or that player. And it's like Jesus God. It's like when we interviewed Pete Butler, and because I was like more starstruck than Peter Butler than TC or anything like that, because he was the first player I actually met,
Yeah.
physically met. And it was, as I said, they used to do birthday parties. The junior hammers used to do birthday parties, and in a little school next door to the ground, and a player would turn up. That would never happen nowadays. You wouldn't get, I don't know, Anderson or Sebastian Haller turn up to our Adventure House for a meet and greet. It just wouldn't happen anymore now. And I forget, and they talk about players, and oh God, I forgot about him, and I forgot about him, and I'm desperately trying to find the most obscure players to get on the channel
I think
now.
doing that, doing the quiz for the lads on the podcast, you're right with that. It wouldn't take long, but I'll just have a little bit of research on it. And you're right. You look at some of the players and you think, blimey, like, how did he play for us? But then you're right. You'll think about a game and you'll go, oh yeah, I remember being at that game.
Yeah.
And something could just crop up out of the blue. Something on, I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago on Twitter about we beat Middlesbrough in 98-99 season 4-0, last game of the season. And a good friend of mine, Glenn, he used to work for Fila. So he'd show all the kits and all that. And I always remember they had 4 like muscle men in each corner of the ground, and we were doing a world record attempt with blowing bubbles. But instead of trying to blow them, they were just throwing the pot of bubbles at these blokes, and these blokes have got to just stand there all like just looking really like hard as such. You know what I mean? And they're the stupid things that you remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you're right. It's just I mean, for you doing this now, you must, your brain must be in overdrive with stuff going, blimey, I remember that, I remember this.
I make so many notes because I'm talking to people and they'll say it, and that's what I'm always doing. I'm always making notes because someone will say something and I'll go, shit, yeah, Titis Kamara, let's get him on, Harita Ilunga, let's get him on, it's like Guillermo Franco, he's in, Elan, he's in, it's brilliant. It's actually brilliant, and people remember things that I don't remember, and I was there, like, oh yeah, God, I forgot that game, and vice versa. Right, let's go into your 11, Reece. I think it's going to be a good one. Obviously, we're doing this, the Hammers 11. Try and keep it to a 4-4-2. The only rule is you have to be alive to have seen them play. That's it. That's it. Nice and simple. So for you, because I know you've been very, very vocal on Twitter with 11s.
It's only just trying to help me start get some help with it, because I've started off with about 500 players.
So no fucking pressure or anything, Reece. But yeah. Okay, who's going to be in goal for the Bayliss 11?
There's only one choice for me. I think over the years we've been quite lucky with goalkeepers. In terms of, unfortunately I didn't see Phil Parkes play. Met him a few times. Lovely fella. Obviously Rob Green, another player that would win you more points than he'd lose them, if you know what I mean, for errors. Loved Shaka when he was there. But for me, Ludo is my goalkeeper in this.
Is your man?
Just A, the size of him. B, when he come from everything about him was just. I couldn't really just believe when we'd signed someone like that, because foreigners were quite, like I'd say, they were quite rare over here at the time. But every time I see him play, he was unbelievable. He'd have the odd clanger, like everyone would. But it was just always the way he'd get the ball in his hands. And again, I tried it as a kid. I weren't a goalkeeper. He always done like a funny kick. How he'd pull the ball behind his legs. Yeah. And I remember trying it and I thought, how the bloody hell does he do that? Do you know what I mean? And little things like that. But the performance that he put in against Manchester United that year, the performances in that 92-93 season, he was just, for me, absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable. And I think he'll probably crop up in a lot of people's 11s that, a bit like me and yourself, that have gone just after that period in the 80s.
Yeah, you're right. We were, we were spoilt for keepers. You think, you said Greeno, you had Shaka, you had Davy James.
Yeah,
you had, we've had 3 England goalkeepers. We had Joe Hart as well.
Yeah.
and fab now,
Yeah,
and
I think it's always been a position that we've been lucky. As I say, we have been lucky with. We have never really broken the bank to get a goalkeeper, and it was really just David James for me that I was a bit like, cool, how have we signed David James sort of thing? But, Xhaka, he was brilliant. Xhaka, I remember the FA Cup win up at Man United. He was brilliant. They had a really bad leg. Obviously, Rob Green at Arsenal
yes,
in the Great Escape season. So they've all done their bit. But for me,
Ludo. Yeah. Loopy Ludo, as my granddad used to call him. Loopy Ludo. God rest his soul. Right, we'll put Ludo in. Let's go left back. I can probably guess your left back, Reece, now in.
Yeah, only one person.
Raz Van Rats.
My absolute hero, best West Ham player ever for me.
Sure.
Julian Dix.
Yeah.
No two ways about it. The times I've met him, and I am still, to this day, I still get nervous if I see him. It's weird. It's weird. And
it's true.
He only used to live around the corner from where I live.
Yeah.
And he'd be spotted in the local Asda. But of course, I'm the only person in Wood, like where I live, that hasn't seen him. You know, and I don't know what I'd do if I was walking down one of the aisles and he's sort of there. Do you know what I mean? But as a player, aggression, I know that was probably the main part of his game, but his actual footballing ability was superb.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And I think the link up with Ludo get it in his hands, stick it out to Dixie, and he'd look at, and that's the thing. I think it overshadowed a little bit with his aggression and his track record for yellow cards and things like that, which sort of filtered off in the last part of his career at West Ham.
Definitely, yeah.
But for ball playing and things like that, and obviously we were always a better side when he was in the side, And I think it's, again, he'd be another player that I'd say 95% of people would probably have in their side.
Yeah.
He was a great captain. Scored the goals when you needed, the goals that he used to score from like corners and things like that, regardless of his penalties, and his long range shots and things like that. But you hear it all the time from the ex players that have played with him about he warming up and things like that. But come 3 o'clock, he will be 100%. And also, he knew what made the crowd tick.
Yeah, that's true.
It is true. And that's why everyone loves him. You know what I mean? If it's going wrong at West Ham, someone go and put a tackle in and all of a sudden the crowd are lively again. So, for me, there's no... we've had a couple of good left-backs over the years.
Again, left-back's not been a bad position, for us. I mean, obviously, Julian, Cress... he's I think particularly when he joined from Ipswich, he was like brilliant for us. And even like the Ilungas of this world and stuff still did a job for us, innit? And it's like, I don't think.
Go on. Sorry, I think the consistency has been the problem with a lot of the left backs. I rated David Burrows when we had him.
Definitely.
When he come down for that season and a bit. Unfortunately, players like Scott Minto, when he came in because he had to replace Dixie, he didn't. I remember his debut. I think it was either against Arsenal or Sheffield Wednesday, and we got stuffed 4-0.
Yeah,
it was terrible. But he ended up being okay. It was nice to have Stuart Pearce at the club.
Yeah, definitely. Pearce
very solid when he was there. But apart from that, no
contest. All right, sounds good. Right, put Jules in. Let's go right back then, Reece. So we're going to have right back for you, man.
Right. So he didn't always play right back. He was more of a right centre half, but I rated him when we had him. And that was Ian Pearce.
Good shout.
Now, he played a couple of games at right wing back. Remember one on Sky and he scored. Thoroughly deserved to score. But he was just, for me, a very, very solid defender. Good goal threat. I mean, fair play to him. He got a few games up front in the
he did.
road this season when we went down. But a pretty good servant for the club. He just, for me, he was nice and solid. So yeah, so he was going to. But I mean, shout out to Timmy Breaker after, obviously seeing your video with him.
Yeah.
He was a great player as
He
well.
was. And again, going back for the old series videos, again, as I said to him in the video, didn't appreciate him at the time, I don't think. And he was a solid player, really solid, really consistent.
Again, though, right back's always for me been a bit of a position where we never tend to spend money.
No.
Obviously Glenn Johnson sort of came and went. I rated Lucas Neal when we had him. He was a good captain.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, Ian Pearce.
Yeah, no, good shit. Yeah, I mean, I had Ian Pearce in my team because I thought it was good. Yeah, no, you're right. I think we tended to do that, didn't we? We get loans in. So Jenkinson was on loan for us a bit. We had obviously Tompkins went right back for a bit, didn't he? It's almost like the makeshift. No sort of specialists where we had on the left, we had like a specialist left back, didn't we? Julian or Cress or something like that. Yeah, right, I'll put Ian Pearson. Let's go centre backs. Then Reece, who's your first centre back?
First one, again, I think he'd be in a lot of people's, is Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Unbelievable talent. I know the word Rolls Royce gets mentioned a lot with him, but the first part of his career when he come in at the end of that 96-97 season and to take to how he did was brilliant. He was one of them players, Rio. He obviously is very good at bringing the ball out from the back. Never seemed to make a tackle. Like not having a go, he could read the game so well and things like that. And I always thought he might end up as a bit of a holding midfielder.
Yeah,
honestly, because of how he played with how he's like he used to be able to distribute the ball. But obviously his game changed a lot when he left West Ham. But for me, he was just he'd never get out of first gear if he made a mistake. He would always be straight there to clear it up. So again, for me, I've got 5 or 6 players that are pretty much, that was no problem putting them in. He was another one. So yeah, definitely having Rio.
Right, Rio's in.
And to partner Rio will be Slaven Bilic.
Slavy. Yep.
Again, I think it's when he come over, it was just a sort of a breath of fresh air as a player. He was brilliant, absolutely like a lunatic, brilliant player. Yeah. Made me really like the Croatian national side. Never buying a blooming shirt, actually. Thinking about it now.
It was quite a cool shirt, wasn't it? It's like a checkerboard.
Yeah.
Like it was
when they were in Euro '96 as well. And so it's a weird one with Bilic. Obviously, I remember when he came out and said that he was going to leave, but he was going to stay till the end of the season to help us out, and then he obviously left. And he didn't really get, I don't know, it's a weird, obviously when he come back as manager, there was no, I remember a few people questioning it, saying, if this was Paul Wince or something like that. But for me, every time he played, he gave his all.
Yeah.
Superb defender. You could see he got on with all of the back four. They all knew what he was going to do and things like that. So, and also just for when he come back to the club for the season that he gave us, the last one at Upton Park.
Yeah, no, he was a good, and he just seemed such a fanatical. There's some people, some players, and some managers who are just fanatics of the game, and you could tell he just loved football. He just loved the players, the crowd, and some people don't seem to enjoy it, but he probably, when we lose it, he probably didn't enjoy it, but he seemed to really have this passion for football, and it was infectious. Seeing him on the touchline and stuff, and when he's bawling his eyes out the last game of the bowling, and it's I think you need that in a manager. We've had the quiet people, you've had the the Grants and the Pellegrinis, and they sit there and they're quiet. But I quite like the nutters. I like the Pardew's. I like, Harry's. I like even Moisey with Kevin. They're brilliant. They're quite a funny duo together. You watch them on the touchline. And I just think it exuberates the team if the manager's really into the game. And Slav epitomised that. And obviously he's doing a great job.
I think he just... I think with a lot of West Ham fans, it's you want to have that connection with the the connection with the players. As I was saying earlier, has probably gone a little bit different these days. But to still have that with a manager, and he knew that last season. It was a big risk, in my opinion, to have not a risk actually, because obviously Allardyce going and things like that, but to come in for that last season and deliver what he did. And ultimately, he knew what the fans wanted. So it's a shame how it ended up. I don't think he'd probably say a bad word about the club. I don't know how he got on with the owners and things like that in the end. But, for me, he was a fantastic player as well. But I picked him along the basis for what he'd done as well.
A good shout.
People like close runners was probably Alvin Martin. Always a great player.
But like in our era, he was coming to the end, wasn't he? Really, so you probably didn't see him in his prime. So that's what's great about this whole series is people see players in different prime, different eras, and so we didn't see Alvin really in his prime. He was he was towards the end. So I mean obviously Slav and Rio and Ian Pearson, that was sort of our era really. So we'll put Slav in. Yep, Slav's in. That's the back four. Let's go midfield then, Reece. Let's go left midfield. Who do we have left midfield?
Left midfield. Now, if I could have tinkered my formation, that's what I did ask you about if it was going to be 4-4-2. But for me, it's probably one of the best players I've ever seen live at West Ham, and that was Eyal Berkovic.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't say he was an unknown when we got him. I know obviously we got him from Southampton. But when he first come in, what an unbelievable player. And I still say this to this day, he's very close to being the best player I've seen at West Ham. He would be perfect for nowadays football. And you think we're talking best part of 20 years ago that he was at the club. So his link-up play, he chipped in with goals. I was surprised, obviously, when he left, but we'd got Di Canio in, I suppose, and it was at the time when the club we were always making a bit of money, weren't we? Harry, I think we only paid just over $1 million for him, didn't we? And we got about $5 million back for him. So, that side of things, I understand why he left, but absolutely unbelievable player.
Yeah. No, he was. He was a great player, and I agree. And again, looking back for those end of season reviews, the amount of setups. And we've had John on the channel. The amount of setups John Hartson got. He picked Eyal in his team as well because he'd said I wouldn't have scored half as many goals if it weren't for him that season. But no, it was good. I thought, it was a great player, really tricky. And you're right, he would have been. I mean, we cry out for that number 10 role at the moment, don't we? Sort of that. We're so inconsistent whether it's going to be Lanzini or Fornals or, Berkovic would have put in so many little through balls for Haller and Antonio and stuff like that, wouldn't he? It would have been absolutely brilliant.
He was a player that what I liked about him, as soon as he got the ball, he would turn and look forward.
Yeah.
There's no, we have that a lot now, and it does frustrate me when we get into certain positions and they do the old, let's just turn back and
keep
by
possession.
That time the defenders are back, and every time he got the ball, a bit in fairness, I mean, Payet was close as such, but every time Berkovic got the ball, you felt something was going to happen.
Yeah, no, I get you. Right, we'll put Eyal in. Let's go right midfield then, the other side.
Trevor Sinclair.
Yep.
Again, no brainer for me. Fantastic player when he signed. Absolutely full of energy. Again, would fit in today. He's a bit like Antonio, I suppose.
Yeah.
Knew where the goal was, worked hard for the team. And also, I think it was something that it was on the telly earlier about England, and you don't really think back to think that he got in that World Cup squad.
No.
I know obviously a couple of people got injured, but that was a testament for him as well, because he'd been at the club sort of 3 or 4 years then. And I'd assume he'd say that he played his best football at West Ham. He was another one. He wouldn't sort of score a normal goal, would he?
No, he wouldn't do a tapping, would he? Yeah.
One of the best goals for me that he scored. beat Spurs at home in 98, 99, and his second goal. And I remember Ginola had given him the runaround all game. Yeah, he scored 2 goals and we beat him. And, it's... he was so hard working. That's what I liked about him. And fair play, he got to represent his country and doing it, playing for West Ham.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often for us. That's for sure. Tricky Trev's in good shout. Okay, let's go centre mids then. Who's your first centre midfielder then?
Ian Bishop.
Bish Bosh.
Again, what a lot of people have said, I'll mirror about his technical ability as a footballer. 2-footed, made it look easy. Very surprised he never got to play for England at the time. It's just one of them. He just made it look easy, and a great haircut as well. That's got to be said.
Yeah.
Lovely,
Still got it.
Yeah. He just everything he done is passing. Again, I think he will probably be in the majority of people's teams. I know, obviously, he said he don't like picking his players, does he? So, which is fair enough. But he's another one. He seems like an absolute genuine fella.
Yeah, it sort of goes with what you assume of him, don't you? As well, that he was like, and it took a bit of coaxing to get him on, because he's like, I don't want to single out. I said, look, don't worry, no one cares. Everyone wants to listen to your stories. No one cares about your 11. For you, it's like that's a fan thing, really. But he was, and again, thinking. What he would be in their West Ham team now, you know what I mean? Again, like Berkovic, a lot of these players, Taylor, I mean, Bish was a little bit ahead of his time, I'd say, in terms of the way he played. He reminds me of a David Silva type character. Do you know what I mean? Just elegant, really elegant player, would pop up for goals, but more the sort of the playmaker. We'd be settled if you had Bishop and Berkovic in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I think nowadays, the majority of players could play. They'd have to change their game a little bit, but he would go straight into a side. Yeah. I remember Mark Noble's testimonial when he played, and he put a ball in for Ashton to do that scissor kick, didn't he? Obviously, I don't know how old Bish is now, but even just being able to put a ball in like that still, and you think he was doing that best part of 30 years ago. 25 years ago for West Ham. So he was another one. Loved watching him. Loved watching Bish play.
And again, you said about being players, letting fans approach them and stuff. He was just a great character, and he was as you said, love comes across so genuine in everything he does with the interaction on Twitter and stuff. And it's like when you get like a like from like a player, like one of your boyhood heroes, it's like the old school sort of autograph, really, isn't it? Now it's like, oh my god, he liked my post. It's just like getting an autograph,
I've got no idea why, but he follows me on Twitter for some reason. never known why. So, do you know what I mean? I probably used to send him random messages or something like that a few years ago when it first started. But proper good player. Good player.
No, I love Bish. Okay, who's Bish going to partner in the middle then, Reece?
Well, it was out of 4 or 5 players, but the player I've picked is because I've got a story about him.
Okay.
So it was between Martin Allen, Scotty Parker, Mark Noble, Joey Cole. I'd like to have tried to get him in there, but unfortunately I couldn't. But the person it's going to be is John Moncur.
Good shout.
Now, again, technically, when we signed him, such a good player, both footed, loved to tackle. He epitomised what we wanted at the club. He was tough tackling, would get goals. He was all over the pitch. Obviously his famous song about him. But the main reason why he's in there, it was about 1998, I think it was. And I'd had a day off school to go to Chadwell Heath with one of my mates and his mum. So it weren't busy. Absolutely tipping it down with rain. Pitches were terrible.
Yeah.
Frank Lampard Senior's come out and he said there was only about 6 to 7 people over there. And he said, you want to come over and watch? They were training right over the back by the bushes before the school.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, John Moncur's come running out of one of the doors, nothing on. He had paint. He had the paint that they paint the lines with in his hair. and he just had a pair of Puma Kings on with these big tongues. He just come running out, belted a ball, and was just screaming, absolutely screaming. And he just done like a slide because there was apparently no kit for him. And I remember just saw Frank. I remember looking at Frank Lampard, and he was a bit like, I can't believe he's just done that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, the stories you hear about him, but it was just one of them weird ones. I think I heard someone, I don't know whether it was Jermaine Defoe or a couple of years ago, I heard someone say about it, and it was like, I was there for that.
Brilliant.
And it's crazy how sort of it sticks in me. But the fella I went with, you ask him, he'd say exactly the same. It was just so out of the blue. But also, going back to it, he was a very, very good player.
He was a very good player.
Towards the end of his career at West Ham it weren't a bit laugh and joking, but, he'd come on, he'd get a booking. And I remember a couple of games where he'd be shadowing the linesman and he'd put the shorts down.
Yeah, remember that.
Things like that. So, again, a character that you probably won't see again in football.
No.
And again, the couple of times I've met him, he's got nothing but time for you. And, that's always the thing that I like when they're like that. So...
No, you're right. Yeah, it's a good shout.
So we're having a bish in there, mate.
Yeah, the old boys. Yeah, no, it's a good shout. No, I love Monks. Right, we'll put Johnny in. Okay, let's go up front then. Reece, who's your first striker, man?
I'll put Paolo Di Canio in.
Yeah.
Again, he'll be in, I'd say, 95% of people's teams.
Yeah.
Again, what a player. He just, when he arrived... it was very much, you could see he was unfit, but within a couple of games, you just thought to yourself, blimey, he's got something about him.
Yeah.
I knew about him at Celtic, but I didn't, the Sheffield Wednesday thing, I didn't really know. I know obviously what happened at Sheffield Wednesday with him, but in terms of like goal scoring and things like that, I don't really remember as a kid being, Di Canio this, Di Canio that.
Yeah.
Definitely. But once he got fit, and that second season after, when we got into the Intertoto and them couple of years, he'd win games on his own. The Arsenal game was a standout for me. That 1-2-1, just in that go, regardless of the goal of the season one, but the amount of games that he won for us.
You're totally right.
He's another one. He loves the club and he's absolutely off his head, and there's
a theme there, isn't there? Players being absolute nutters but loving the club. Like you have to be. I think
it's just a bit. It's another one of them. I think it's a bit sort of sour how he left the club. I don't know whether or not he got offered a new deal or not. I know we'd obviously been relegated, but yeah, he was. You'd read, I think it was, I don't know, Harry Redknapp's autobiography or something like that, about him training and things like that. And he'd say he's got to train like he's in a World Cup final. And you can imagine with some of the players we had then, when we had people like Razor Ruddock and people like, if Johnny Moncur and all that. And I bet he'd send him balmy sometimes. But, he was another one. If he was in the side, typically we were 100 times better, and also he would bring on, I say this, whatever level you play at football, but he would bring on players because of how good he was.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And a pleasure to watch. Absolute pleasure to watch at West Ham.
Yeah, he was, and everything. Agreed everything you said there. No, totally. And you're right. He was. Well, it's just like he was just like, you got to think in that era he was. Not only at West Ham, but I think, in the Premier League, he was one of the most entertaining players in the Premier League. And again, it doesn't happen very often that West Ham have the box office hit, the big showman, the greatest showman, that type of thing. But it doesn't usually happen at West Ham. It's a couple of times, obviously. Oh, God. Obviously, Di Canio. Actually, I get so excited about Di Canio, not my mic over. Di Canio, Payet. These were 2 or 3 times we've had, like, the player, and he was just brilliant, wasn't he? And I just thought, and again, he loves the club, and I think I always mention when I interviewed Nicky Hawkins from West Ham Fan TV, and he had the story which just epitomises him. They were doing these sort of these match, these sort of player events where a player comes on and he gets Q&A'd and stuff. And, and Nicky turned up. He was, in a shirt and trousers or whatever. The Canio comes in, bronzed, the expensive Ray-Bans, beautiful suit, beautiful jacket, scarf. And he went, Pally, you look like $1 million. And he just turned to him and goes, I always dress up for my family. That's it. That's it. Love him. Absolutely love him. Yeah. And that's it. And it's so true. You can just imagine him saying that as well.
He's I don't know. I would have loved us to have had a punt on him as manager. I don't know what would have happened, but I think he'd be a bit like when we had Zola, and you hear them stories of Zola being like the best player in training.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine that he would demand so much from players. So that might be why he's not managing like much anymore. I know he had done it for a few years, but there was times where I thought, I'd love to have him as a manager.
We say
what it'd be like.
You're right, because I was saying that that you'd like the charismatic managers on the touchline. He would be the most charismatic manager of all time, and no, I don't think I could have him. It'd be a bit like Dream Team. Do you have a Dream Team on Sky One? It'd be like that. It'd be a soap opera, something happening every day with Paolo. But so on telly, right?
He was unbelievable.
He was an amazing player. Who's he going to partner though up front for the base?
He's going to partner a player that, again, this was quite a tough choice because I didn't see the best of Tony Cottee.
No, me neither.
He obviously had a good couple of years when he came back.
Yeah.
A couple of my mates who I spoke to about this, they sort of went a couple of years before me, so they got a couple of years out of him as well. So it would be out of him. I also liked it when we signed Ian Wright.
Yeah.
Now, he obviously weren't there for that long, but the connections with my family, my brother would always be, he'd have the VHS on of Arsenal, or I'd have the West Ham on. And when I was a kid playing football, for me, Ian Wright was just the perfect player. So when we signed him, and he obviously still banged a few goals in. I went up to Hillsborough for his debut, but the person that I'm going to put in is Johnny Hartson.
Yeah.
Just for the fact of the season where, unfortunately, he didn't get the Golden Boot, which it's a shame he didn't. But coming into the side in 96, 97, him and Kitson, you just saw we needed someone like him.
Oh, yeah.
Big, strong. I remember when he basically put Sol Campbell in the net for that goal against Spurs, and you thought to yourself, we've got a player here that we can play, and we can play to his strengths. And as I say, he just, for me, in the air and things like that, he was just a really gifted footballer.
Yeah, totally.
But had the aggression, and I mean, I was sitting, I think it's probably why he didn't get it at the end of the season where he got banned, but where he had that bust up with Stimac, and I weren't that far from where he'd done it, and he just, he's like someone I bet he could have a good old row back in the day. Yeah. But for me, having a few Welsh ties as well, it was good to have him there. When I was playing football, I was a number 10, and he turned up and got the number 10. And just watching him score the goals that he did, especially a couple of, I remember one goal in, we beat Aston Villa in the Worthington Cup.
Yeah.
And he scored a header in that. Unbelievable header. Timmy Breaker down the wing, whips it in, and Artson was on the edge of the box, and it just goes in the top corner. And again, it's a shame how it ended up with him. But again, we did get good money for him.
We did, and that's what he said. He said, I had good years. They got good money out of me, and everywhere he went to, he was like, there was some sort of transfer record. So when he went from Luton to Arsenal, he was the most expensive teenager. Then he was our most expensive player when we signed him. He was Wimbledon's most expensive player when he signed him. And I mean, he could have it. I mean, he was an absolutely lovely bloke, but he go back and look at the video. Look at the size of his forearms. Honestly, his forearms about two of my arms put together. He's worked out so much. He's incredible. But yeah, and
also I'd have to say what he's been battling and things like that.
Of course, incredible man.
I've watched a lot of interviews of that and the ones that he has spoke about West Ham and.
Oh, he's brilliant.
He's another one. He seems like quite a humble fella, and but at the time when we had him, it's a shame we haven't got someone that has got a golden boot because I thought he thoroughly deserved it that year. Just the one game that always stands out for me. Maybe this is the one I should have said about my memories, even though it's a bit of a bad one. But when Arsenal beat us in the cup on penalties, obviously. He'd missed a penalty in the League Cup game and they knocked us out. And I remember when he scored and he was just going absolutely balmy when he scored. And, you could see it actually meant so much to him.
Yeah.
He then missed a penalty in the shootout. But, he was just a fantastic player for us, I thought.
Yeah, he was. And
also linked up with mentioning about Berkovic.
Up. Oh, definitely. And, you mentioned that Tottenham goal, and he did say it in his video about literally he was determined to get that ball and Sol Campbell at the same time. And you got that feeling when he scored that goal and just the jubilation. But, and also, him and Kitson, they were just like, again, in our sort of lifespan, we didn't have Cottee and McAvenny. They were the first partnership I remember as a duo. They came as a duo and played well as a duo and worked as a duo. And to be honest, probably not. We haven't had one since, really. I mean, Bellamy and Ashton was the idea, but never happened.
Yeah,
we haven't had that sort of duo since then.
I think if he'd stayed fitter, Ashton, and obviously he got injured. So I think he would be another one that would have been in a lot of people's teams, or will be in a lot of people's teams. But I don't think we would have kept him for long.
No, I don't think either.
We going back to what you're saying about these players that we have like sort of the players we get them now and again, but unfortunately when we get them now they've gone.
There's always an asterisk by their name, isn't it? Really, so like. When Pyatt was there, you're thinking he ain't going to be here for long. He's going to get snapped back up again by someone. And that's always the threat now, isn't it? Anyone who's even the academy boys, any decent academy boy that comes in, you're like, shit, how long are we going to have him for before he goes? Cause
we've got that situation at the moment, haven't we?
We do.
It's the thing is that there's always going to be, there's only a couple of clubs, I'd say.
You're totally right.
In the world that can probably not sell players.
Yeah.
But for us, I mean, for me personally, I've watched all them players come through. They've all gone on to have brilliant careers.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be a part of it that says where they started at West Ham. So, I'm never one to stand in their way as such and, the situation with Lampard, of everyone booing him and all that. But you've only got to look at the career these boys have had, and they deserve to go on and win. Declan Rice, in my opinion, I don't know. Maybe another.
Yeah, we don't know, do we? Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know, but it's like you're right. It's like I think hopefully after all of this rubbish stuff that's been on in the world, that people might be a bit more not sympathetic. That's not the right word, but realistic. Do you know what I mean? It's like the young players, particularly today. The game's changed. It's not about testimonials and 10 years of the club and loyalty, and as we said before, if you get 3 years out of a manager, you've done well with that manager. People assume there's this merry-go-round, and same players as well. And they've got a short career now, shorter than I think than before. In the old, more experienced players, they were going. Billy was 41 when he retired. And that was unusual. But most people were playing into the sort of late 30s. Doesn't happen nowadays as much now. And it's their job, isn't it? It's their job. And I think the club will always be there. Players come and go, but the fans will stay. And that's what's important. It is what it is, unfortunately, the modern game.
Sometimes I feel you're right what you say. The players come and go. And sometimes you just want to have that bit of appreciation, and that's all we want sometimes from the players that leave. But we all go back, don't we? That's the problem.
We'll go back. Yeah, exactly. We'll
We'll
moan.
go
We'll
back.
slag them off, and then we know.
Yeah,
But
and
then
we'll
there'll
go
be
back.
then another one will turn. Then there'll be a new player in, and it'll be Bowen, and we're like, he's going to be a good player. He's awesome now. What's going to shit? We're going to get 18 months. It's still West Ham way. There's always something. I don't really appreciate players. It's always about when's he leaving? Pyatt was amazing. It's brilliant. But when's Man United going to buy him, or Real Madrid, or just because it's coming. But it's what we do, innit? And we've had nothing to moan about for the last 100 or so days. So people look.
But also on the other side of it, we've also had players that have never really been talked about that much who have been superb for the club.
Oh, totally.
Do you know what I mean? I could pick another 5 11s with players
Easy.
that everyone would go, oh yeah, he was good as well. You know what I mean? So it's this is what I like about this, because everyone's got a different story about
it. They do.
Why they pick them. You will get the majority that will pick 3 or 4 of the same players, but
that's natural.
Because they were that good, and they were that good when they weren't they? So
you're totally right, and it's natural, isn't it? And they're basically everyone has their appreciation. As I said, when people ask about names on the back of the shirt, Ruddock was the last person I had in the back of my shirt. It's like fucking Neil Ruddock. You know what I mean? But I used to love him. I'm similar build to him. Not. Or as Martin Allen said, I reminded him of him. So I was like, well, hopefully when he was playing rather than now, but it doesn't matter. But but that's the thing. Everyone has different opinions, and I think some people really love a cult hero, really love the Raz Van Rats of these world, and some people, and that's what's great. And everyone's got opinions. But Reece, mate, it's been brilliant chatting.
Yeah, pleasure,
and
mate.
your little boy's done well for not stirring at all. He's done really well.
I'll put a lock on his door, so it's probably been
It's only 18 months, so you can't. Reece, it's been great. Thank you so much for your time,
probably
man.
Been listening to me, mate. That's probably what sent him to sleep.
There's a few coming up. Which if you need any help. But yeah, obviously, Karen do that rogue stuff. It's good fun. I love it. And it's all good. And hopefully things will start getting better, and we'll have some decent football to moan about in a couple of days' time. So
fingers crossed.
Yeah, and obviously thank you to everyone for watching. Again, every time, but appreciate everyone's comments and liking the videos and tweeting about it and stuff. Keep it coming, because it's all about West Ham. It's all about the community, all about the family, and that's what's important when it comes to it. As we said, players come and go, but the fans don't. That's going to be my new sign-off. I'm going to like that. I'm going to do it. There you go. So for me and Reece, take care, everybody. Stay safe, and see you again soon. See you, guys. Bye-bye.